Hi there, just yelling into the void. So, part of my white fatigue is the complete unwillingness to understand white privilege and what it actually is. A lot of white people seem to think that when you tell them they have white privilege, that somehow you're telling them, well, you just had it easier, or you've never had a hard time, or you've never had down times, or you've never had to pinch pennies. Not the case. That is not what white privilege is. It doesn't mean that you haven't had hard times. What it means is that you haven't had, in addition to those hard times, a judgment placed on you by society of your skin color. You don't have that. And you have been able to take advantage of certain systems that are in place that uphold white supremacy. That is what white privilege is. It's not that you didn't have a hard time. Your color wasn't giving you a hard time. It wasn't creating the issues in your life, not the color of your skin. For Black people, it's different. They have hard times, they have issues, and they also have the strike of their skin color against them, where people are judging them on that, or oppressing them based on that, or basically holding them back based on that, or incarcerating them because of that. So that is what white privilege is. It's that you didn't have that experience. For example, I used to work with this guy. He was your typical Macomb County white guy. If you know, you know. And I remember him telling me that he was a self-made man and that he didn't experience any benefits from white privilege, and that was just a bunch of bunk and it was made up. Well, he also talked about how there was programs in his neighborhood when he was growing up with the boys club and things like that, and how great they were and how they, really helped put them on a path, and had them interacting and learning how to socialize and kind of building connections. Yeah, building connections is really important. And because when you lack education, you can fall back on those connections to kind of prop you up. So that was one of the things that he talked about. And I thought, gee, I wonder if they had those programs available in minority neighborhoods. I don't think so. But another thing would be the neighborhood that he grew up in. What was the tax base like? What about his parents? What advantages were they given? Was his dad able to take advantage of the GI Bill for education, which a lot of Black men were denied? There's just so many things in place, so many systems in place that have given white people advantages that Black people didn't have. They weren't offered to them. They didn't have access to them, and that's your privilege. I hope this helps, and that's my rant. Have a good one. Bye.
White fatigue. I've been hearing this term a lot, so much so that I had to look it up, and I want to make sure I get this right. It's the weariness and disengagement that occur when white individuals are confronted with the realities of racism and their roles in perpetuating it. So basically, y'all just tired of hearing about the shit that happens at the hands of white folks, the things that have happened historically and the things that continue to happen at the hands of white people. Are tired of hearing about the shit that they continue to do to people from the people that they continue to do it to. That's what it is? Okay. And y'all wonder why a convicted felon is in charge of the country again with zero policies, and he's fucking y'all over no matter how white y'all are. So instead of trying to fix the problem, y'all just tired of hearing us complain about the problem that y'all continue to do. I'm laughing because any other reaction would get the video taken down. So instead of taking the stuff that is happening to people at the hands of some of the people that look like y'all and saying, you know what? We have historically messed these people over. Everything from slavery to subjugation, oppression, redlining, Jim Crow, all these things, systemically holding them down, banking, educationally, financially, all of the police brutality. And again, all of these things in some way, shape, or form still continue to happen. And instead of trying to fix it, because a lot of y'all tend to say, well, we're not our ancestors. So instead of trying to be better than y'all ancestors by writing the course that your ancestors started us on, y'all just tired of hearing us complaining about the course that y'all ancestors started us on. Instead of saying, let's build a better society by changing what happened in the past and building a better present and a better future, y'all just don't want us to talk about any of the past. Don't complain about any of the shit that's happening presently and keep our mouths closed about what may happen in the future. So if this was an abusive relationship, you wouldn't be mad at the abuser. You'd be mad at the person being abused. Okay. Sometimes I just want to pretend like we ain't where we at. But we here.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm here to bring you updates on everything going on in America currently, whether it's politics, culture, news, and everything in between. With a major headline or stories that do not get enough attention, I'm here to give you the context, the facts, and real talk about them all. If you want to be informed without noise, kindly know that you are in the right place, and please hit the subscribe button and let's get into it. Credit belongs to the rightful owners of the clips I will be attaching to this video. See you.
I can't say that I spend a lot of time hanging around racist white people, but I will say this: they will always find a way to make themselves out to be the victim. I had this one coworker in the past, let's just say her name was Barbara, okay? Barbara's this middle-aged white woman who has some racist views. One day, we've got a new girl, she's serving a table, it's full of like 8 bitchy Karens who are doing way too much. Basically, they just want to get their food for free. So they're sending everything back after they've already eaten half of it and saying like, oh, this was terrible. I didn't like this. I didn't like that, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I felt so bad for the new girl because she's like on the verge of tears. Like she is so flustered. These Karens are being so rude, so mean for no reason. Well, they would just want to get their food for free. I said something like, man, I hope that new girl doesn't think this is what all of our customers are like, because they are not like that. Usually they're really nice, and this is like a one-off situation, and this is like her 3rd day at work, and she's having to deal with this. I feel so bad. Barbara looks at me and goes, well, you know why that is. And I'm over here like, no, what? And she goes, it's because they're black. Immediately, I shut it down, and I'm like, this has absolutely nothing to do with race. That is wildly inappropriate to say. Like, I can't even tell you how many white tables I've had that have acted exactly like that and worse. I said, maybe it's because they're bitchy Karens who want their food for free, but it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that they're black. So I felt like I set the record straight. I felt like we had an understanding, right? Anyway, Barbara goes home earlier than the rest of us. She took that opportunity to go and run and tell HR that I was discriminating against her as a Wisconsinite. Now, let me tell you what really happened. Barbara thought I was going to go to HR and tell on her for being racist. So she thought, let me go to HR first and report Axel first. Because then, whenever Axel reports me for being racist, it's going to seem like he's just making it up. And he's just mad that I reported him. So now he's making up a bunch of bullshit. And it's just retaliation. Very sneaky, very sneaky. Oh, the racist whites will always do that, won't they? They will always try to turn themselves into the victim. I ended up getting suspended for a week without pay, okay? And I lived paycheck to paycheck at the time, so that they could do an investigation into me and interview a bunch of coworkers and see if I was discriminatory against Wisconsinites. The most fucking ridiculous thing I've ever heard. All because Miss Barbara couldn't take accountability when she was caught in the act being racist. Don't worry, I ended up getting her back. She ended up quitting because she was like super embarrassed by the end of all of this. So anyway, we got her back. I'm not going to go into all of that, but we got her back and she learned her lesson, okay? I ended up really like laying into her. But anyway, just to my point, I was thinking about that today and I was like, man, the lengths that these racist white people will go to rationalize and excuse their racism, to justify their racism, and to avoid taking accountability whenever they get caught in the act.
And I ain't gonna lie, we gotta start doing something about these people. Y'all heard about the white boy that took the lives of 3 black people a couple days ago and there's no media coverage on it? Look at this, y'all. Like, man, this happened in Cincinnati, Ohio, bro. Apparently it was no motive at all. Like, just, these people are sick, man. 9 times out of 10, they're gonna make an excuse calling this a mental illness for this dude, too. I can't even say it's fatigue anymore, bro. It's just like a sickness, man. I don't know.
White fatigue is a sign of discomfort that comes, especially when privilege is challenged. And so many white individuals feel exhausted while or when consistently asked to reflect on reasons, especially if they've not had to consider their own identity before. So it's important to know that white fatigue, I beg your pardon, is not the same as just looking at people of color. White fatigue is real because it stems from being newly exposed to conversations people have lived their lives. Now, when you look at it critically, you will know that it leads to anti-racist efforts and it makes people uncomfortable. Now, it's also create a kind of withdrawal from defensiveness, silence, or apathy. So we need to normalize discomfort in conversations about race, talking about racism. So, white fatigue itself is the first step towards goals, and it has to do with unlayering process. So if you have to do with white fatigue, who is going to rest or who will not rest? And this now has to do with you looking at fatigue in the context of seeing it as a systematic inequality in the system. So white fatigue also aligns when people confuse being called out and being adapting, learning to differentiate accountability and avoiding conversations between white fatigue is a kind of form of privilege itself. So people of color, I think, have not seen the impact of racism. So they have to push through white fatigue and continually show working. So solidarity itself now is not just about showing up. It's about consistency. It's about continuity. the thing is that you just don't have to stop learning. Rest is necessary, but it shouldn't become a reason to disengage permanently. So white fatigue now is real. So we have to apply resilience, because dismantling the system of operations is not necessary, but the key is staying committed even when it is very difficult. That's even when it's hard. So we need to look at it critically, and I would like you to have your comments drop in the comment section. Let me get your views when it comes to this white fatigue issue on ground. I hope to see your comments, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Cheers.